Hi everybody, welcome to History 604, America and the World Wars. My name's Tony Caldwell. I'm going to be your instructor, facilitator, in a lot of ways fellow student this term, as I don't know everything about this period the same way you don't know everything about it. And frankly, there's no way any of us can know everything there is to know about the history of the country or even a specific instance in that history. There's always something new to learn. And I love getting new ideas from students. I like it when you pull something out of the material that I didn't, and we can go back and forth into discussion forums about the material and our views and how we get it. I want to say up front, it's great when you disagree either with me or with your fellow students, with the caveat, if you can back it up. If you can say my opinion is different, here is why, and illustrate that in your writing, awesome. Love that all day long. Don't just blast somebody and go, you're wrong, I'm right, and don't bring anything else to that fight, okay? Bring the stuff in with you. This is an interesting period of history. It's where America shifts from being another nation to the nation. And we really moved from, prior to World War I, we were a younger nation, booming economy, things were going pretty well, had some issues, but seemed to be okay with most of it, to the end of World War II, where we emerged as one of the two superpowers, and for a period of time, the only superpower that had a true economic base. And that's a huge shift. And because of those factors, we go from not wanting to be involved in very isolationist and staying out of European wars to a nation that's not only involved in European wars, but running proxy wars all over the world and doing clandestine operations all over the world, and also having the economic power to influence our friends and our foes alike just off the power of our dollar. And that's a really big shift in the dynamics. So this is the era where it really takes place, this 30-ish year span. We're going to look at the reasons we got into both wars. We're going to look at the after effects of both wars. I hope that in the discussions we can get into some of the things like the 1917 Espionage Act, and does that set up a precedent for what came after September 11, 2001, where we created the Patriot Act? Are they the same? Are they different? How does that work? Let's talk about propaganda and it being state-sponsored by the United States, and not only propaganda abroad to influence our adversaries, but the internal propaganda to get people to sign up for a draft for World War I when our nation hadn't been attacked. And we didn't really have a history of participating in other people's wars. So how do we motivate young men to volunteer to go to Europe? And how do we motivate the people that don't go to accept rationing and voluntarily give up parts of their First Amendment abilities and rights so to support the war effort? And that's a really interesting dynamic that doesn't get explored a lot. World War II, will we talk about the same types of things? What were we doing prior to Pearl Harbor? And do you think that we were headed into that European war that turned into be a European and Pacific war? How did we get there? What did that mean? What was FDR doing in those years prior to, when he was saying as well, it's a European war and we need to stay out of it, but at the same time, as Wilson did, clearly supporting the Allied side with war materials and loans? And how did that influence it? Like, how much of this was political outside of the military? Let's look at these wars with the political lens and a social lens and see how we can bring new things to each other. I've got an announcement that's going to be, you're going to see it the first week, or at least I hope you see it, that talks about I'm a rubric central individual as far as being an instructor goes. And I want to talk about that for just a minute before I sign off, because I think it's key. When I say rubric centric, what I mean is I have that rubric in my hand when I'm grading your paper. And I'm looking at your work, whether it's a discussion post, a analysis paper, a book review, a topic proposal, or your final histographical essay. I'm looking at that. Did you meet the requirements? Did you check all the boxes? And how well did you check them? If it is in the rubric and not clearly apparent in your work, I mark it that way. If you check the box but didn't do it well, that's a needs improvement. If you did what the rubric's asking in the proficient column and you just did that, that's where proficient sits. If you go above and beyond, that's what gets you to exemplary. And if you have questions about that, throw it in the general questions forum or ping me on the side and I can explain that a little bit better. But I want you to understand that I go by that rubric and I judge all your work by, does it contain all the critical elements? And did you do those critical elements well? So I know that seems really obvious and fundamental, especially at the graduate student level. Having been a graduate professor for a few years, I can tell you that that is not always the case with every student. In fact, that's not the case with a lot of students. So I really want you to take that to heart. Make sure that you aren't writing what you want to write. Make sure you are writing what the course requires you. The course is designed to expand the way you think and make you think about different things, and that's the purpose behind that. Okay, enough of that soapbox. I hope you understand. If you don't, let me know. I'm fairly easy to get to. So that's it. I hope we're having a great term this week, this time around. It's going to be 10 weeks full of lots of stuff, of new information, new ways to look at things, and I hope you enjoy it.